The life of fame and fortune can be a slippery slope for those who are unprepared or unwilling to take serious financial advice. Once the money comes rolling in, some celebrities have a hard time controlling their spending habits. As they say, the more you earn, the more you spend. But that doesn't mean that celebrities are immune to debt. If anything, the thousands of dollars they make each month does nothing but enable them to spend more money that they do not have. Debt can be crippling, and depending on how severe that amount is, it's almost impossible to climb out of that debt. What happens when you're so in debt it's impossible to pay off everything you own? You file bankruptcy. Now, there are different chapters of bankruptcy, with some being personal, business, or even medical. In today's segment, we will be highlighting some of the top celebrities that went bankrupt. Some lost their fortune due to divorce or breaking contracts. Others attempted hiding their money before filing for bankruptcy. Continue watching to see if one of your favorite celebrities made it to our list, or to find out which celebrities are facing criminal charges due to bankruptcy fraud. Today, we bring you 10 celebrities that went bankrupt. To start off today's list, we present number 10, Mark Twain. As most know, Mark Twain was just a pen name for Samuel Langhorne Clemens. Over 100 years have gone by since Mark Twain has published some of his most famous books, such as The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn or The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. What most people don't know is that in 1894 he had filed for bankruptcy following a failed business. Mark Twain had many issues with his publisher and decided it was time for him to begin publishing his own work. The majority of money that the author had was invested into putting up his own publishing house, as well as investing large amounts of money to a guy named James Page, who was building an automatic typesetting machine called Page Compositor. The machine was not yet perfected at the time of investment, but James Page assured Mark Twain that it would be shortly after the investment took place. Unfortunately, James Page failed to deliver an automatic typesetting machine. Between both investments, Twain was forced to file bankruptcy after running out of money to fund the machine and keep his publishing business open. The bankruptcy cleared Samuel Langhorne Clemens of all legal obligations to pay his debts. Out of respect, Mark Twain continued to write novels and eventually paid all of his creditors in full. It was a more humble notion than any other celebrity on our list. Number 9 on our list today was not as fortunate to bounce back after filing bankruptcy, twice. Yes, you heard that right. Toni Braxton is known for 3 things: her beauty, her voice, and her terrible money handling skills. The R&B singer has won 7 Grammy Awards, 9 Billboard Music Awards, 7 American Music Awards, as well as numerous other accolades. For a woman who is so well established in the music industry, it's hard to imagine she would file for bankruptcy twice during her career so far. During her first bankruptcy in 1998, it came to light that the singer really enjoyed spending a lot of money on her houseware. Between that and her not earning as much as she thought after each tour, Braxton drove herself straight into a pool of debt. Her first bankruptcy gave her a new light, and it was shortly followed by a new record deal that would guarantee her millions. She returned to her glory in the year 2000, ready to compete with new and younger stars such as Beyonce or Rihanna. Her fans did not like her new sound, and her next 3 albums ended up selling only a few 100,000 copies each. Not very good in the big-time music industry. Despite the bad sales though, Toni Braxton took her music to Las Vegas with a Las Vegas review show. After recently signing a new contract, Braxton was diagnosed with microvascular angina, a narrowing of vessels in the heart, and later lupus, which is a hereditary disease that killed her uncle. The life-threatening diagnosis squashed her business in Las Vegas and has caused her second bankruptcy. Toni was allowed to keep her Porsche, her piano, and her Grammy Awards. She revealed in interviews that she had let herself down, knowing she should have shown improvement after her first bankruptcy. As they say, old habits die hard, and it seems Toni Braxton's shopping habits were a lethal weapon to her bank accounts. Speaking of lethal weapon, the number 8 celebrity on our list today is William Gary Busey. He gained popularity for his acting in films such as Lethal Weapon, Predator 2, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. In 2012, Gary Busey filed for bankruptcy, and luckily for him, he had most of it cleared, except the $450,000 debt he still owed in taxes. According to reports, Gary Busey filed that he had less than $50,000 to his name, and was up to a possible $1 million in debt. It's said he owed money to the IRS, lawyers, UCLA Medical Center, Wells Fargo, and a woman named Carla Loeffler, who sued Busey for attacking her at a Tulsa airport within a year before he filed bankruptcy. Imagine being assaulted by a celebrity and then it turns out you don't get the money from the settlement because that celebrity filed bankruptcy. After his bankruptcy, Busey claimed that his best trait was breaking even. For an actor who was featured in over 70 movies, you would think financial issues were the least of his problems. Jose Garces came to fame when he entered as a contestant on The Next Iron Chef. In the second season, he won the competition and became an Iron Chef. Jose Garces owned over a dozen restaurants in Pennsylvania, Arizona, New Jersey, and Illinois. In 2014, Garces started experiencing financial hardship when the Atlantic City's Revel Casino closed down. Garces owned and operated 4 restaurants in the area that generated approximately $2 million profit per year. In April of 2018, Jose Garces filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. A Louisiana restaurant and hospitality company called Ballard brands offered to purchase the assets of Garces for over $5 million in cash and assumed liabilities. The deal is currently still being closed, and Jose Garces will go back to working for the restaurants as a chef, still being the face and idealist behind some of his restaurants. Perhaps instead of working on becoming the Iron Chef, he should have worked on an Iron savings account. An American actor and pop singer named Joey Lawrence and his second wife, Chandy Yon Nelson, recently filed for bankruptcy. Joey Lawrence is popularly known for his role on Blossom as Joey Russo. Lawrence started a show called Melissa and Joey that ended in 2015, where they had a reported income of $534,000. In 2016, their income was reported at $58,000. It only took a year for the couple to owe $88,000 in back taxes, $132,000 in credit card bills, $32,000 on an unpaid loan, $100,000 for their cars, and $54,000 in unpaid rent. The drop in salary with a reported $25,000 in monthly expenses means Joey Lawrence and his wife headed for the red, and quickly. It was reported the couple tried to sell their clothes and personal items on eBay to cover costs before filing bankruptcy in 2017. Get rich or die tryin' is more like get solvent or die tryin' for rapper 50 Cent, whose real name is Curtis Jackson. In 2015, Jackson filed for bankruptcy to restructure his business. It was reported that he was $36 million in debt, with his assets being less than $20 million. The judges agreed to restructure Jackson's debt that required him to pay off $23 million to his creditors. One of the people he owed money to was LaStonia Leviston. Curtis Jackson is a known troll on his social media pages, recently swearing off Instagram for them deleting his content without notice. But with Leviston, it was beyond innocent fun. He acquired a sex tape of LaStonia Leviston and her boyfriend. He added his very own commentary before posting it online. Leviston sued Jackson and won, making the rapper pay up $6 million. Curtis Jackson ended up paying off his debt 5 years early, with almost $9 million of his own money and $14 million he received in a recent settlement of a legal malpractice lawsuit against other attorneys. At least now the rapper is caught up and will hopefully learn from previous social and financial mistakes that he has made. Larry King Live has been one of the longest-running CNN programs in history. This makes Larry King one lucky guy in his career. But what about before the show started up? He was a radio show host, and his path to fame wasn't as easy as some others. Soon after his radio career began, Larry King was spending his money recklessly. It didn't take him long to find himself $350,000 in debt. In 1978, he filed for bankruptcy. It happens to be the same year his career completely took off. He signed off on a new radio job, and then 7 years after he filed his bankruptcy, he began his show on CNN's Larry King Live. Now he has Larry King Now on Hulu, and Politicking with Larry King, which is a weekly political talk show which airs on Thursday evenings. Who would have known that 40 years later, Larry King would have a net worth of $120 million? Not all attempts for filing bankruptcy ends up in all of your debt being wiped away. As Abby Lee Miller learned, you can walk away from court having to pay even more money, and in her case, end up in prison. Abby Lee Miller stole hearts while she was on Dance Moms. In 2010, she attempted to file for bankruptcy. The judge handling the case saw her on television and noticed that she withheld the money she made from the show when she filed. After deeper investigation, it was found that Abby Lee Miller stashed away almost $800,000 before filing bankruptcy. She was indicted in 2015 on 20 counts of bankruptcy fraud, facing fines upward of $5 million and time behind bars. She pled not guilty, but in 2016 she faced another charge for smuggling $120,000 in Australian currency into the country without reporting it. In 2017 she was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison and was required to pay almost $200,000 in fines. Abby Lee Miller was reported to be almost $400,000 in debt prior to her failed attempt at filing bankruptcy. Despite her failed bankruptcy, Abby Lee Miller made number 3 on our list today for her fraud and greed that left her even more broke than before. In the 90s, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing about MC Hammer, whose real name is Stanley Kirk Burrell. In 1991, he was earning upwards to $33 million a year, but in just a few years, his fortune was gone. Burrell employed over 200 people to work for him as he built a mansion in his home area that cost about $30 million. It had gold-plated gates, 2 swimming pools, a recording studio, a movie theater, and Italian marble floors. He bought racing horses, Lamborghinis, a private jet, 2 private helicopters, and a stretch limo. The payroll alone for his employees would reach anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million in a month just to have his Hammer pants washed by someone else. MC Hammer also lost money in a lawsuit against Rick James, who brought him to court for ripping off his songs. In 1996, Stanley Burrell filed bankruptcy with his debt at over $13 million. He was forced to sell his mansion for a fraction of the price. He paid off his debt and became a minister for a while before jumping into the world of technology. He now invests and spends time with 8 different technology companies. At least he reinvented himself and was able to move past his debt, much like our number 1 celebrity on today's list. From the celebrity apprentice to President of the United States, Donald Trump landed number 1 on our list today. Donald Trump has had to file bankruptcy for his businesses on 6 different occasions. While being a candidate for the Republican Party for president, he was confronted in a debate with Hillary Clinton, who exposed Donald Trump for filing for bankruptcy 6 times. He argued that he used the laws to his advantage, as other business people do, and that he only filed 4 times. PolitiFact uncovered the last 2 bankruptcies. One was in 2004 for Trump Hotels and Casinos Resorts, where they accrued almost $2 billion in debt. The last bankruptcy was in 2009, after his Trump Entertainment Resorts had a severe downfall following the 2008 recession. His first bankruptcy was 6 months after he opened Trump's Taj Mahal in 1990 in Atlantic City. His other 2 Atlantic City casinos and their properties made it impossible for him to keep up with the debt, which led to him declaring bankruptcy for both of them in 1992. As if 2 bankruptcy claims in 1 year wasn't enough, he also declared bankruptcy for his Plaza Hotel in New York. Donald Trump is the only president in United States history that has had to file for bankruptcy more than once.